Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Crisis for the geek kind. Top geek officials admit they underestimated the hipsters' defense capability. Join the geek revolution and save the galaxy. Geeks from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future. They're doing their part. Are you? Want to know more? Join Weeby Geeks and the Geek Revolution and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship. Listen to Weeby Geeks podcast on iTunes and Stitcher or online at WeebyGeeks.net. Weeby Geeks, your voice for the Geek Revolution. Want to know more?
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday. Wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everyone. My name is Jen, and I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno. Hey, guys.
Yo.
Hey.
Question mark?
Yeah. Hello?
Hello?
I think I'm here.
Tentative guy.
Yep.
How are you guys? What's been up? What's happening?
Swell. I'm swell. Not swole, but swell.
Wow. Well, all right.
Big difference there.
Yep.
Although I did go to the gym.
So
go.
maybe you are swole.
A little bit.
Well, I guess you went to the gym. You didn't say you worked out. I mean, you literally could have gone there as part of your job.
It's true. If you want to call me on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I went to the gym, I worked out, got a smoothie and left. Or not worked out, but I, fixed something, got a smoothie and left.
They were doing a wine tasting, so I just, heckled people.
Right.
One of the workout places nearby us have pizza day.
Oh, yeah.
It's like day or something like that is pizza day. And so you can go work out and get a slice of pizza for free.
It's Planet Fitness, isn't it?
I dig that.
Yeah, I think it's Planet Fitness.
Yeah, Tony and I talked about that on Salty Language one time because we were kind of like, I get it because they're doing like because they're all about the non-judgment and, like they're not about the like workout is life kind of mentality, like as much as they are about like, hey, come in, get your workout and, whatever. So it's like, I think they have Bagel Day too.
That's awesome.
Which is funny to me.
I don't know.
I just love the fact that a gym is basically it seriously is like when the dentist used to give people lollipops on the way out.
Right.
Right? You're like, oh yeah, have some pizza, And it's like, oh, I guess I'll have to come back and work this. That's brilliant right there. That's built-in business. No, I think it is a cool idea though, because I know it's supposed to be about, kind of community, meeting other people from the gym or whatever, and also letting yourself have a reward or whatever. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So I can see it. Seems a little weird at first, but when you stop and you think about it, you're like, all right, I can kind of get behind this. It's not so bad.
Right. Go in, grab a pizza, and just run out the door.
Or do that.
Like, I'm getting my exercise.
Well, who wants to start us off today?
Crickets.
All right.
Will.
Oh, cool. Hello.
I'll go.
Sweet. I pulled the old.
Let's see what happened last week.
I was just going to pull the old, like, take a step back move when someone asked for volunteers,
Drink.
Yeah. Everyone else steps back. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I got sick last week.
Sweet.
So I stayed home for 2 days.
Sick of work or just... No, I'm kidding.
No, I honestly... It was weird. It was... Wow, I'm forgetting kind of what happened last week. That's funny.
You were delirious.
I was.
Yeah.
It was Monday and Tuesday? Yeah, I wasn't feeling well Monday and Tuesday. That's right, yeah, because my podcast last week when I got done, I was like, I'm dying!
Yes.
I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt really crummy, but not like I had a runny nose or a cough or anything. It was just like crud.
Yeah.
So spent a couple days at home, back to work. That's why I made a big deal out of I went to the gym because I didn't go last week at all.
Right.
But I felt better, went back to work, kind of took my time getting back into it. And what else? Oh, Friday got up and like made a point of doing nothing, posted it on Facebook that I was doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And in the end, I actually ended up getting up and doing something, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because like no pressure. And it was great because I'd been, because of like last week I was talking about, I had that anxiety over, and it was nice to just let myself off the hook. No need to, no pressure. And then Friday night, Sharon and I just did, my mom is really cute. She sends me like always a Valentine's card and there's a little money for like, go out for dinner or something or lunch or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So you hit up
threw a bunch of.
You hit up the gym, got some pizza, and then no.
Exactly, yeah. We drove down to Twin Falls because I saw the second Jumanji movie, Next Level, like a month ago or something, and it's a really fun movie. Like if you want a really fun of a movie going experience where you're going to laugh and enjoy yourself, go see it. I highly recommend it. And so Sharon, I kept talking about it. Sharon's like, I really want to see it. And stuff up here, it's here for a week and gone. And so we drove all the way down to Twin Falls, which is, it's a little hour and a quarter or whatever. Mm-hmm. Went, just jumped into Chili's, grabbed some food and had a little kind of date night, which was really fun.
Nice.
And then, then Saturday I got back into kind of it was nice to like get things done, but not have the feeling, the pressure about it and the anxiety about it, which was, it was neat. You know, it's like I knew I had a list of certain things to do. And so the beginning of this week's been like that too, just getting ready for recording and, you know, building stuff that I need to build and taking it down to the studio but not feeling like I'm not feeling pressure, like just getting it done. And I love being in that zone, not manic, like I'm taking on everything. It's like that, just that feeling of balance that is elusive. Like you wish you could feel this way all the time.
Right.
It never works that way. Anyhow,
sounds like a good week. That's pretty awesome.
There's nothing to complain about. And then this weekend, got some friends coming over to have little weekend fun. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, it's we're gonna start doing our band recording next weekend, and then that's where it'll be a little bit of pressure, but I'm trying to make it a relaxed experience, and it's just going to be better that way. Yeah, and work was, weird thing that happened is on Sunday, it was either Sunday or Monday, I was at the end of the day, and I'd changed for a pump that, makes fluid go around everywhere, and I'd done like my usual rounds, which is just checking equipment, inspections. And what else? I did some office stuff, and I did some plumbing, and then I went out and broke up a bunch of ice in the parking lot. And there was so much variety, and I stopped at one point. I'm like, I really love my job. And it was kind of cool. Just to have that, like, I rarely get that, like, it's 4:30 and I've literally been just banging ice with this, one of those, it's kind of like a flat blade thing, breaking it into pieces and then shoveling it into the snow. And I got in the golf cart and I'm driving off and to have like that legit feeling of gratitude. Like, I love my job. I love that I have a variety of, what I do all day. And yeah, I've been in a good headspace.
Yeah.
Certainly
sounds
like it.
Yeah, which is cool. So, celebrate it.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
That's what I got.
Change.
All right. So this is going to be,
you got it.
This is going to be a weird thing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I just pull the curtain back here. Like at one point while Henna was talking, Skype just randomly took a screenshot and muted my microphone. So I don't know what the heck's going on. Something's going wonky with my computer tonight. All right.
I was wondering. I saw you took a picture. I was like,
Yeah, I hadn't even clicked on anything, and I'm like, why did it do that? All right. Jeez.
Well, I guess I'll go next. So let's see. We recorded last Tuesday, so it was the day I came back. Wednesday, I was back to work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, and things pretty normal. Nothing too crazy. My stepdad is doing much better than he was, which is a good thing. And my stepfather-in-law is not doing as well. So he got put into the hospital. Now he's in a rehab center. They're building him back up and getting him to eat and all this other good stuff. So hopefully things will start looking better in that area. So I've not just one opportunity, but I have two opportunities of being of service to my mother and my mother-in-law. So it's definitely been a focus of mine to be of service and to really just be present and be an active listener and really just try to, because there's not much physically that I could probably do for either situation at this moment. I mean, the professionals have it in hand, and they're professionals for a reason. They know their job, they know what they're doing, and I trust them. So the best thing for me to do is to help take care of mental well-being of my loved ones and to do my part and be present and be available for them. So I've been spending a lot of time talking with my mom and just being available for them to just talk to whatever they need. And then we're going to try to go up to see my mother-in-law and my stepfather-in-law this weekend, kind of spend some time up where they're at, which is not too far. It's only about an hour-ish from where we're at. So we can drive up there and, just spend some time with them and help out with whatever needs to be done, kind of do that whole thing. So it's been kind of a basic week for me, nothing too crazy exciting. My husband got a new position at his job, so that's been kind of cool. So it's been actually really cool because it's a much better fit for him, and it's a great way for him to use his knowledge, which he wasn't using his knowledge as much as he could have in his last position. So,
okay.
Yeah, so we went out and we celebrated that on Friday. So we went and had some Mexican, which was very yummy and very nice. And other than that, that's the other thing. So something else that I had to do that is very uncomfortable for me. I ended up, I'm who comes in and helps me with cleaning my house. And
I like how you said instead of maid, that way it wouldn't seem as hoity-toity.
Don't call me out.
That's funny.
Shush you.
Someone who helps me clean my house. It's called a maid. For a cleaning service.
Well, I had
Wow.
me out, and we decided to go with somebody else. And so I had to send the message that we no longer needed her services. So I kind of half did it, meaning I told her that we were going to do it ourselves from here on out. First telling her that we don't need her services and we're taking somebody else's.
Yeah.
So I kind of chickened out, but I did get the message across. So I gave myself a C, maybe a S, but
right.
I could have done better. Living the honest, truthful life is always the best path, even if we feel that we're trying to spare someone else's feelings. Honesty is always the best policy, and I believe that fully, and I didn't live it fully. So I'm confessing. So that's my confession for the week.
Nice.
Yes, but my new woman is very excited and seems to be really awesome and really nice. So,
Well, good.
Yeah, so hopefully this will work out for us.
Right.
So. All right, I'm done. Finally.
I didn't really have much of an exciting week. So, I mean, our power went out the other day, which is, part of the reason we're, this episode is late. So, yeah, apparently a car hit a pole and took out power for about 1,700 people in the area. And, it took them a couple hours to get it fixed, but yeah, they were pretty fast about it and got it handled and everything, and which is good because, it's winter and you don't want your pipes to freeze. So,
Right.
But a few hours you can handle. So it was, wasn't too bad. And yeah, I really haven't done much this week at all. I mean, I have just, I had a couple days like Heno where I just, like Friday, I basically had nothing. I just had no energy, just was on empty, and needed to, so I didn't record Salty Language Sunday. And, so yeah, that show was late this week too because of, that, and then Monday was the day the power went out, which is when him and I were going to record, after, so it's, threw us off. So we recorded last night, and, so it was like, I hate that because I hate putting up shows late. Like it feels like turning in your homework late, kind of a thing. Like the look you get on the teacher's face, like, better, even though nobody at all, like, really gave us any, grief over it. It's still the idea. It's just a internal thing, which is funny because I literally can pick any day of the week I want and say, this is the release day. Like I completely control that. So, I could just say, oh, Wednesday's our new day now, or whatever. And, but I also don't want to keep doing that either. I like the consistency of the stuff, but, yeah, that's trying to think if there's anything else. They were talking earlier in the week that, we could get, up to 5 inches of snow tonight. So I was, we decided to, get some groceries, today, and last night I was like, hey, told my mom, I was like, make a list and I'll go order them. So all we have to do is go pick them up because, for anyone who doesn't live in areas that get, storms like this or something, not that 5 inches in this area, 5 inches of snow is nothing, really, but people act like we're getting 5 feet, they still will go to the store, buy up like all the water and Pop-Tarts and all the, But I just figured we go pick it up, completely avoid that whole nightmare for me. And then we get to the store today to pick them up, and the place really wasn't that busy. And I think part of it's because the local weather guys are kind of more like, 2 inches, maybe up to 4, depending on where you live, kind of a thing now. Because again, the area we live in, we a lot of times when it looks like we're going to get really hammered with something, the wind will shift just a little bit, and that's just enough to push it north or south of us. And that looks like what happened. It looks like it's keeping it, or it's moving it just enough that it's not really going to hammer us the way they thought. And again, 5 inches is not a ton of snow, but, even for here, we haven't had a lot of snow, but that's still not that much snow. That's still very manageable as far as travel and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, so, yeah, it was nice to not have that worry, because it's one of those situations where it's like, well, I know the store causes me stress. Usually going on these kind of situations is extra stressful because people are crazy. But luckily I didn't have to deal with any of it, so it was quite nice. Other than it's not fun bringing groceries in the cold.
It's not.
Yeah. Yes.
But the good news is supposed to be 100% snowing by now, and it's not even started.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's why I said it's, the way they were talking, it looks, from the way the weather looks, it looks like, it looks like 2 inches is probably what we're going to get here. But in the viewing area for the news, if you go a little further south into Ohio and stuff, it looks like they could get more in the more open areas, the rural areas of Ohio, probably going to get slapped a little harder, but whatever. We can deal with it, I guess. What else? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I can't really think of anything. I have therapy tomorrow, actually, which is another reason I was actually really glad that it doesn't look like we're getting a bad storm, because I already rescheduled that my last appointment. This is the rescheduled day, so I didn't want to reschedule again, and so yeah, so that'll be good because it's one of those, again, it's like, I feel in my head, it's like it's time again, so. Go do that, and unfortunately have to go upstairs and talk to the dental area there because the one tooth that I can't afford to get a crown on is bothering me now. So it's probably time to just go ahead and have it yanked. So that way it's just over with. Yeah. So I got to talk to them and see if they do it because they're probably going to have to do x-rays to see what it looks like beforehand, Yeah. Because it's a bottom tooth, and sometimes those can be more problematic from what the dentist told me before. So, good fun. I don't, having the tooth pulled doesn't bother me. I mean, I don't want to have it done. I'd rather have saved the tooth, but, apparently insurance companies don't care about, like crowns, I guess. But no matter where it is, they're basically like, no, we don't want to pay for it. So, whatever.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
So, so is that it for your week?
Yeah, I think so. I really can't think of much else.
You.
Yeah, this has been a real boring. Well, again, it's like,
Node for Am.
Yeah, like our weather's just been overcast and 30 pretty much. So it's like, it's not one of those, it's not the kind of weather where you're like, ooh, let's go do something, like.
Exactly. I understand.
Yeah.
I spent pretty much the weekend inside because it's 30 something, drizzly and gray.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, well, Hanno, you have our topic for the evening, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not mistaken, Jen.
Sweet.
And our topic tonight is resentment.
Yeah, I think we've all been there before.
Yeah, and we've probably talked about it before, but it's always a good reminder because what brought it up is a friend of the show has been going through some things that could definitely create some resentment, and it made me think it just one the 12th especially that suffers from drug and alcohol addiction is the idea that we can those of us with those isms can't afford resentment because it is the first step on a pathway towards either using again or drinking. Because and any resentment, like even justified, which is actually the worst.
Yeah.
You feel like you have, like you're owed this or you've earned it, or which is a weird thing. It's like, I have a justified resentment. Like, yeah, it kind of makes me laugh. So It's a great concept because it applies to people with mental health issues, because even though it may not lead you to, I mean, obviously things like that lead us to various other types of behaviors, like, maybe diving into too much of the ice cream or, acting out or things going sideways. But the one thing that it can do, it really can lead to emotional hangovers. And that is really not good when you're dealing with depression, anxiety, or other types of mental health issues, because you're like, life is already enough of a struggle. Throwing something on top of it is never good. So I just did a little searching and I found a couple of articles on lifehack.org, and one of them kind of just talks in general terms about what is resentment, and says the best description of resentment I have ever heard came from listening to Dr. Drew from Loveline. Quote, resentments are like swallowing poison and expecting the other people to die, unquote. Yep. That's also a classic 12-step one. He was not the first person to say this, but it's still an incredibly effective way to understand resentment. In psychology, resentment is when a person has ongoing upset feelings towards another person or place or thing because of a real or imagined injustice. When I mean thing, I can like business, institution, that kind of stuff, like your bank, the IRS. One of the reasons resentments are so hard to get rid of is because there is so much bad advice floating around out there on how to deal with them. Exasperated friends may tell you to, quote, just get over it already. Therapists may tell you to let it go. Other people may say, forget about it. Or even more unhelpfully, the past is the past. Well, what does any of that advice, generic advice, even mean? Well, this person says, I can tell you for sure that you shouldn't do the following with resentments. You shouldn't ignore them, fight through them, lock them in a closet, pretend you don't feel them, or try and forget them. Instead, you should do these things. Face them, deal with them, heal from them. Fake it till you make it doesn't doesn't work when it comes to deep-seated feelings we have about certain people or situations, but dealing with them is certainly easier said than done. And I think that's a great thing, because a lot of times you get that like, well, just fake it till you make it. And it's like, when you got something like really stuck in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost impossible sometimes to put on that face especially when you're interacting with someone who you really harbor deep resentment for. It's incredibly hard to put that smile on your face and interact with them and not want to just snap at them, and everything you say, even if you're trying for a joke, comes out as sarcastic and biting, and I mean, it doesn't work.
Yep, yeah. Exactly. And that's I think one of when we don't deal with it, we get those sideways things. Mm-hmm. And we snap at people that don't even have anything to do with it. Yeah. Many times. And the people around us have to suffer through our mood. And then we ourselves, it doesn't get any better, because the next day, I was speaking for myself. If I dive into my resentments at night, I will wake up feeling it. I will have an emotional hangover, and then even though maybe the resentment won't be as raw, but the emotional hangover becomes an issue. And then I'm not in a good mood or whatever it is, and people around me are wondering, what's going on.
Yeah.
But before I get into the other article, which talks about 8 ways to deal with resentments, this other article talks about a couple of things. This is, before you begin to overcome resentments, you should know the following things. And I think these are really important. 1, it's a process. 2, it may get worse before it gets better. And it requires a great deal of willingness and an open mind. And those are so key in my experience for letting go of resentments. This goes on, says resentments are negative feelings that you may have been carrying around for years. During this time, they may have done significant damage to your ability to interact with the world. I know it sounds dramatic, but these are often big, deep-seated issues. Don't expect to be able to say a chant and poof, they're gone. You should know that you are embarking on a long and probably painful journey, but the destination is completely worth it. And I think it's great advice. That particular article goes on to talk about the 12-step method for letting go of resentments. It's something that really takes some time. It's not something, it might be worth getting into on the show one time and going through the practice of it.
Yeah.
Because it's the exercise that I did, but I'll tell you, it did, like that whole idea of things may get worse before it gets better. That happened to me. And because I was dealing with, every resentment, it's basically step 4 and step 5 of 12 steps. And I went into a funk because it's looking at everything. And even stuff that I'd just let go of, it was stuff that I had let go of a long time ago, but it was time to get into it and find out, because it's part of the 12-step process is to also find why I got the resentment. What was my part in it? And that leads towards then dealing with shortcomings and personal defects and that kind of things as the steps go on. So it's a great practice, but it's better to be definitely done with somebody else that's done it before.
Yeah.
So with that said, we're going to go through the 8 ways to release and prevent resentment in any relationship. Number 1, acknowledge your feelings, even if they are negative. Feelings aren't bad, even if they're negative. What you do with those feelings is what makes the difference. It's normal to feel angry, disappointed, embarrassed, and hurt. When you experience painful emotions, label them and acknowledge them. Trying to ignore them or stuff them won't make them go away. Instead, they can build up over time and lead to resentment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that until you experience the idea of just calling your emotion what it is and accepting it, it was something like, I could have read this a million times and I never understood it. And today I literally just thought about how I was feeling, labeled it, and went, oh, Yeah, that's how I'm supposed to be feeling. Why am I fighting this?
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in saying, I am sad.
Yeah.
I am angry.
Mhm.
I am, hurt.
And-
It's a lot of power. It's very powerful.
It is, and I will allow myself to be hurt, and I will be in my hurt
Mhm.
and go through it.
Yep.
Number 2, speak up when your feelings are hurt. When someone hurts your feelings or has unrealistic expectations for you, be willing to speak up. Holding in small hurts over time can cause anger and resentment to build. Wait until you're calm and use I messages to express your feelings. And that last sentence is so important because nobody can deny you your feelings.
Right.
If they do, and especially if they mansplain it,
Right.
you have permission to right upside the head. No, I'm just kidding. But this is the idea is rather than saying you did this, by saying I feel this way, it brings it to you and you are only talking about your own personal experience and feelings, and nobody can deny you your feelings.
Yeah.
The other person, whatever they did, may not have meant for you to feel the way that you do,
Mhm.
but you do.
Right.
And I think that's really important. And then you can work on a solution towards, sometimes it might be my thing that I need to change because I'm being too sensitive. Or maybe it's something that it's a great gauge to find out how willing your partner, friend, coworker, or whoever it is, how willing they are to help you not feel those feelings.
Yeah.
Very true.
Number 3, create a list of reasons why holding a grudge won't help. Holding on to a grudge about something in the past is likely to hurt you more than the other person. Because most of the time, the other person doesn't even know you're holding the grudge.
It's true.
Yep.
If you harbor anger, resentment, and even hatred, it can impact other areas of your life negatively. Create a list of the reasons why holding a grudge isn't helpful. Seeing it on paper can help you see the ways that harboring resentment can impact your life. And this is the thing. Most of us end up harboring these resentments, and the other people don't even know. But it's the people that we love and we respect the most, or the people that we see every day in our life that ends up having to deal with it.
Yeah. Right.
So again, the main point for me on this one is writing. Writing is always helpful. Like it says, seeing it on paper can sometimes make such a difference, because I know for myself, when I'm stuck with the itty bitty committee in my head, it just doesn't get clear. But if I write it down, I step away from that little audience and those cohorts, and I see things sometimes a little bit better.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, it's like having a bunch of little Johns up there, and everybody's, whatever you say, they're like, yeah, and that's continuously happening in your head. I mean, you're not going to come to any clarity that way.
Yep.
So writing it down is a great way to get just a different perspective, or talking to somebody about it, getting somebody else's input can help you to just regain that perspective on the situation.
Yeah, and this is a way of what I like about this is if you're writing a list of why holding a grudge isn't helpful, you're basically playing devil's advocate for yourself.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's a good practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good practice to look at the reasons why you might be wrong, because most of us spend time convincing ourselves why we were actually right.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in
We
these
have
kind of
a
mindsets.
lifetime.
Yeah, I was saying
You're right.
in that mindset, we're certainly looking for we have confirmation bias for sure.
Bias.
Yeah.
And where's the confirmation bias on? That's on a list or something like that.
I don't know.
Started thinking, or I don't know.
Doesn't
what
sound
you're
like
talking
anything
about.
I
Yeah.
would have talked about. Yeah. It's definitely a
Rumor
form
has
of
it.
distorted thinking. Even if you, again, it's one we all use. There's nobody who doesn't use confirmation bias, whether it's, trying to figure out why, that you want a second helping of something at dinner and you're just like, well, I didn't eat much today, blah, blah, blah. And you're looking for someone else to basically go, well, just have it, whatever, kind of a thing. So you can be something as kind of innocent as
Simple as that.
Yeah. Versus, something that's really self-sabotaging. So.
The next item, number 4, is more writing. Create a list of reasons why forgiveness can be helpful. And this can be a stretch for people because until you've experienced the relief that can come from finding forgiveness, and again, my favorite phrase, forgiveness isn't letting someone off the hook. Forgiveness is realizing there is no hook.
Right.
Love that. Sometimes it's very hard to find this because, again, if you can justify a resentment, you can justify why somebody doesn't deserve to be forgiven.
Right.
But it's not about the other person. It's about me.
Yep.
So be willing to consider forgiveness. Forgiving doesn't mean you need to excuse the other person's behavior or that you'll forget what happened. However, it can be about letting go of all those feelings that you are holding on to. Me.
Yeah.
Create a list of the reasons why forgiveness could be helpful in your life. Look at what positive things could happen if you let go of those negative emotions that have been building up. Powerful exercise. All right, number 5. I like this one. Avoid complaining to other people. If you're feeling angry with someone, avoid talking to everyone else about it. This is solid advice.
Yes.
Yes.
Sharing your anger with others over and over again is likely to fuel your anger and frustration. Don't get others involved or expect others to take. Instead, talk directly with the person that you're angry with to address the problem in a direct manner. Wow. It's shocking,
Yeah.
But it's what we do.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do that. So hard to address me. I just went through this, with the woman that helped me clean. I could not.
Housekeeper?
Yes, my housekeeper.
The
I
help?
could not address it directly to her as much as I needed to. I couldn't have that one-on-one conversation.
How many people did you talk about her with?
Oh, at least 4 or 5.
Right? It's funny, isn't
I
it?
completely get this.
Instead of just having one conversation, you're willing to have 5. Yeah.
I know, exactly. And it was,
That's so great.
Yeah.
I completely did this, 100%. I own it.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's, and I don't have any resentment, but
No,
it's
but
we do. It's just
it's something we do, and it's worth looking at. Like when somebody's bothering, maybe think about it. Like, think about how many people you feel like you need to call or text or email or whatever it is, and rehash the same conversation over again.
Yeah.
And here's one of my greatest mentors would ask me this all the time. What are your motives?
that's a great
Yeah.
question.
What is your motive to talk to a handful of people about the same situation?
Ooh, I can tell you what it is.
Confirmation
Confirmation bias. Yep. Because that's what it is. We're wanting people to agree with us. Or I mean, don't get me wrong. There are times, obviously, there's times when we literally will be like trying to find a way of handling something. But again, I think a lot of it is that we get caught up in, we get so caught up in our own minds because we have the conversation with that person without them present.
Yep. And here's the other part of that.
We pretend we know what they're going to.
Complex.
Yes.
Good point.
Yeah.
Because we want to we want to take the other person down, and we want to elevate ourselves. Because honestly, who doesn't want to feel superior to other people as well?
Right.
It's part of the human condition.
Yeah.
What are you gaining from it? Are you just taking somebody down just for the sake of doing it? Basically just throw up all over, emotionally barf all over
Yeah.
your friends.
Yeah.
And for what? Like just to make someone look less than?
Yeah.
Is
That about the motive, because you're right, because that's it in a nutshell. It's what's motivating you to do this. And when it comes to the point of, because people ask, what's the difference between bullying and standing up for yourself? And I always say it's the motivation. If you're motivated to defend yourself, that's one thing. But if your motivation is to hurt the other person emotionally or physically, then it has crossed the line from defending yourself to being a bully. You're bullying bully is what you're doing. And it's that superiority complex, and that kind of kicks in when you get flushed and heated and emotions take control.
Yeah. And
it goes too far. Well, when you cross that line, that's it all. It's all about motivation.
Yeah, and I guarantee, in my experience, there's never been an instance where I was slagging someone off or putting them down that I was seeking a solution.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
There was no solution finding there.
Right.
Because otherwise I'd be talking to the person directly.
It's true.
Yep.
All right, number 6, try to look at the issue from the other person's point of view. Try to establish some empathy for the other person. Imagine what that person might have been thinking and feeling when your feelings were hurt. Looking at the situation from the other person can help you develop compassion. Don't assume the other person had evil intentions, but instead recognize that the person could have intentions. And I think that is another one where it's a good indicator of whether your relationship's worth keeping, because what you're doing is you're giving the other person the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't extend that back to you, well, maybe that's not someone you want to be around.
Yeah.
Following up with that, accept that people aren't perfect. Prevent resentment by accepting that no one is perfect. People who care about you and love you will hurt your feelings sometimes. Other people can't meet your needs all the time. It's unrealistic to expect that people will always behave in a way that is pleasing to you or in the way that you would do it.
Right.
Which is a real common resentment. It's like, well,
Definitely.
I would do it this way.
Yeah.
Everyone makes choices in life, and there will be times when you don't like the choices someone else makes.
Yep.
And that's, again,
Make it.
to me, those last two are, to me, it's like fair play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the same standards. Not everyone has the same ethics. Not everyone has the same
core beliefs.
Desire. What was that?
I said core beliefs even, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like a certain and that can come through in work, just friendship, relationships, all those things. And until you talk about those things and do these things, is look at the other person's point of view and accept that people aren't perfect, there'll never be an agreement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And our last one, number 8, say no when you don't want to do something. If you behave like a martyr by always saying yes to everything, codependency, you'll likely feel taken advantage of.
You feeling okay there, Heno? You sound like you're getting
I think I codependency.
I thought you had gotten over that.
You know what? It rears its ugly head from
Yeah.
time to time.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Yeah.
So this is a great example of, it's called the Karman drama triangle, and it's this idea. It's a cycle of you act like a martyr, things don't work out, so then you retaliate against someone, and you feel taken advantage of. But saying no to things you don't want to do is one of the best ways to prevent resentment. So then you don't feel resentful, you don't retaliate, and you don't start the cycle over again. Whether you say no to your sister asking you to babysit or you decline an invitation to dinner from a friend, if you don't want to do it and you can't do it with a cheerful attitude, consider saying no. And I like that little thing about adding, if you can't say yes to something and do it cheerfully, then maybe no is the complete sentence you should be using.
Right.
Well, and there's a difference between taking advantage of someone and letting someone take advantage of you.
Good point.
It's a huge difference between the two. But people get them mistaken all the time. It's like if you say yes all the time, they're not taking advantage of you. Yeah. You're letting them take advantage of you.
Yeah.
So you're in control of that situation.
Yeah.
If you don't give them the answer of no, they're not going to know that you're not happy with the situation.
Yeah. You know, we're not mind readers, so we can only really act on the information that's presented to us, you know? So like you said, you know, if you tell somebody, you know, yeah, I'll go, and then, you know, it's one of those, like, if you just agree to go, and this goes to the cheerful thing, it's like you go, but the whole time all you do is complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, a lot of times people be like, why'd you even come? Like, why are you, you know, like, why didn't you, you know? So it's like, why, you know, and that creates its own set of drama based on your drama, instead of just avoiding all of it in the first place and just saying, you know, I'd rather not, or I can't, or whatever. You know, or we're going to just clean ourselves going forward, or whatever you use to dodge confrontation, you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Passive aggressive much, Brian? No.
Being attacked by every angle.
Help, I'm being repressed.
Exactly. Classic. So there you have it.
Very nice list, and actually very, very helpful. You know, as we've proven on the show, these are things that are very real and very in our face, and we do them daily. So it's definitely things to keep in mind. And resentment is tough to. It's tough to get through.
Yeah.
It's one of the tougher things to get through.
It is. It's tough to get through, but I think the point of this list essentially is, like a lot of the stuff we deal with mental health, which is it's hard to get through or get over, but there are tools that are, when changing the way you approach a situation, can make it to where it lessens the risk for resentment in the first place. Because like we were just saying, you know, if you go do something for or with someone and then resent that you did it, it's like, well, if you just said no, poof, no resentment, you know, you know, so like, it was preventable. You kind of, you know, fed into the loop there, you know, you put the quarter in the machine.
Yeah. Prior to being shown a different way of living my life, you'd think I just went out and looked for resentment.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it was like, it was there all the time.
Yeah. I
always had something to gripe about with people, and I always had something to feel justified in being bitter, angry, and then I didn't anymore. And it was as if the whole world changed.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter was no, the world didn't change. I changed.
Exactly.
It was me.
Yep.
It was my choice and my decision to live my life that way. Mm-hmm. And I think what's great about these kind of lists is, if you don't want to feel this way anymore, if you don't want to be angry with everything, if you don't want to be, you know, the world is against me, it's actually a choice, and it's an inside job.
Yeah.
Which is the good news and the bad news. The good news is it's an inside job.
Right.
You only have to deal with you. The bad news is you have to deal with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the tough things you have to accept is it's not fair. You're right.
Yeah.
Life's not fair, and it's not going to be fair, and it sucks. Yep. You know,
it's amazing.
That's
I know I talked about it once before on here about how funny that's been to me. How when we're little kids, our parents generally go out of their way to teach us the lesson of life isn't fair, so that you know you're not going to get what you want all the time. You know, and we learn it essentially. But it is probably one of the most uttered phrases by adults it's not, well, that's not fair. It's like, well, yeah, exactly. You were taught from the time you were a little kid, things aren't always fair. Now, there is a difference in that versus, like, Henno, when you mentioned about fair play, you know, when you know, interacting with a person, we assume that there are certain, you know, ground rules, essentially, for lack of a better term. You know, like, then if you say, well, hey, that's not fair, then you're saying, like, hey, that's a below the belt shot or something, you know, so.
Yeah. It's a little different.
Right. But again, you know, going to this other stuff, it's like communication's a huge part of this as well. And, you know, if both sides haven't communicated what the rules are, there kind of isn't an unfair. You know, there is, but there kind of isn't, because you haven't necessarily said, hey, you know, like if in boxing, if they weren't told, you know, hitting below the belt is illegal and someone does it, you penalize them then, because they'd be like, well, I didn't know it was illegal. You know, so again,
Right.
communication and all that stuff is, as with everything else, very important. Some of the stuff on that list, I feel like is, you know, when we talk about stuff, sometimes we've talked before about how there's like entry level and then there's like advanced level on some of this stuff. There's a couple of things in there you certainly got to be not, and I don't mean like 10 years down the road, but you got to be in the work a little bit to, like you said, Henno, where you were like, I could have read that a million times and not gotten it. Now you read it and you're like, oh wow, that, you know, it hits you different now because you've done some work. And but again, that's, you don't feel you can do this work on your own, or you feel resentment is controlling your life in ways, then, as we've advocated plenty of times, you know, talk to somebody, whether it's a group, a therapist, whatever, and, you know, maybe find some help with that.
Mhm.
Or,
Yeah, and that's the difficult thing on both sides of resentments is there's typically a lifetime of practiced behavior and really well rehearsed behavior involved in both how we take things, what might trigger us, what we might be sensitive to, and also on the other side, how we trigger other people. You know, there's always all those little memes about like, oh, the most intelligent people use sarcasm every day. And it's like, I'm sorry, but sarcasm is practiced and it's mild bullying, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. But what it is, when I decided to stop practicing sarcasm, I stopped being sarcastic to everything. And a lot of these things are like that. However we react or respond, they're typically things that we have practiced for a long time. And it's not easy to stop doing it. However, it's worth looking at. It's like, are my reactions actions or reactions?
yeah.
And again, what's my motive for it? Why do I constantly make a sarcastic remark?
Most the sarcasm thing is maybe like one that, like, you know, if you were reading this in a book, I would highlight that, because in that instance especially, motive becomes the biggest thing you maybe need to look at there. Because like you said, after you practice sarcasm for a while, I think it really falls into a superiority complex situation, because you're using that sarcasm a lot of times to make someone else feel less than, you know, and even, you know, there is a strong difference between being sarcastic for the sake of funny and making someone laugh versus, you know, sarcasm because you won't just come out and communicate with the person what your problem is with them or the situation, you know, and that's why is that like intent there or motivation or whatever, however you want to word it, makes such a big difference in that one, you know, and intent's a powerful thing. And unfortunately, you know, when we start, trying to predict or, you know, guess what someone's intent is, that's a dangerous gray area, you know, that in itself can get you into fights with somebody or cause resentment, you know.
You know, one thing in our kind of intros I didn't talk about is I had a real win this last 2 weeks. I've been working with one of my coworkers who he and I we work together on projects, but we're typically working independently, meaning that we've been given a huge project to do and we both, you know, split it up, and he does a part, I do a part.
Sure.
We're you know, sharing what we were experiencing, but this time for 2 weeks, we were literally doing things together. And in some cases, he was teaching me how to do something, and then eventually I got to do it myself with him guiding me. And then it got to the point where we're doing stuff together. And I noticed that we tended to be more self-deprecating, more inspiring, or let's just say applauding each other's like wins, never putting each other down for a setback, always working towards solutions. And it was one of the greatest experiences I've had. To me, it's like when I'm in band practice and we're doing is just working on art together. And it was the same thing. He and I, it's one of those things where we didn't have to talk about the rules. We both brought in a good attitude towards this.
Yeah.
We had the goal in mind, and it was such a breath of fresh air because how many of us have worked with that person where the whole time you're working, it's like, you ever moved with somebody and you just feel like they're constantly pulling when you're pushing and you're, pushing and pulling. You're just never in sync together.
Right.
Yes.
And
Sure.
more times than not, that's what we experience. And to have it be the opposite, where it's just both of us were there, ready to work, ready to help. Never any. There was no negativity. There was just if something didn't, and then there'd usually be some self-deprecation about it, like, well, don't listen to me, and then when the other person nailed it, it'd be like, wow, that was it right there. Nice job. It really felt good. And it was it's nice to have work experiences like that, because work typically ends up being our frustration in life.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, guys, let's go on a high note. So we all
like Mr. Bubbly like the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're going to take my job. Knock it off, mister.
That's why you were so energy and stuff last week, is you were,
Too many bubbles.
Yeah, you're running at too high a level. You just got to lower the bar and just coast along it. Met is so much easier to maintain. High and low is where all the work is. Met is easy.
That's good.
All right, folks. Well, if you have something you'd like to talk about with us, we'd love to hear from you. So, here's what you got to do. You can reach us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com, our website. Our email is thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me direct on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. Or you could also reach me on my other account, which is Witskey-Ditz, WHITSKEYDITZ. If you would like to hear more from me, you can also hear me on Shake the Sheets. It's a pop culture podcast, and you can find that at shakethesheets.com. Now, Henno, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Henno. Find me on Facebook, Henno Heiter, Facebook. And I also roam around in the Instagrams and whatnot, so kicks and blahs. And I've got another podcast called Moving the Needle Podcast, where we just released an episode about the movie 12 Monkeys. We did a little test of time. And I saw this movie in a completely different way than I did the first time I saw it 20 plus years ago. So if you're maybe interested in hearing about my revelations about this movie, because I was pretty about it the first time I saw it, check us out. You can find us on any place where you get your podcast for free.
Or on Twitter at MTM Pod.
Yes, thank you.
And Brian, how can they reach you?
You can't. I've decided to leave all social media. No.
Because I hate you all.
You can find me on Twitter at StuNami. My other podcast can be found on Twitter at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work. So, be careful where you're listening and who's around and whatever. Just, what is it? AirPods in. I got to update now since, everybody seems to be switching to the wireless stuff. So I don't want to sound like the old guy who's like, hey, turn on the radio, like
the radios.
Yeah. Let's listen to our program tonight. And you can also find this show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod. I don't have my list in front of me, so I'm winging it. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/Crazy Life Podcast if you'd like to come join us over there. And we would appreciate if you and subscribe if you haven't already. And also, please share the show with your friends or anyone you think might get something out of listening, to our episodes. I generally title the episodes, whatever our main topic of the show is. So, it's easy to find if there's something that you're if you're a newer listener and haven't listened to all the old ones, if there's, a topic you think about, maybe, type it in and you may find, all sorts of stuff on different things. Like we mentioned the, distorted thinking. There's an episode on that, and as well as codependency, which we talked about a little bit tonight. And we haven't talked about superiority complex before. I mean, we've mentioned, but never really dug in. But, so go check out the back episodes if you haven't already. And I know I'm forgetting something. I feel like I'm forgetting links, but they're all in the show notes if there's a link you need. You can, no, I forgot, screwing it up already. If you feel that you need help, in it, with, dealing with resentment or just mental health issues or your general health, please reach out to somebody, go talk to a doctor, therapist, a support group, or, whatever happens to work for you. If you're in, please utilize like the suicide prevention hotline, or, the text line, and that information is in the show notes also, and, also easily Googleable. So, but please, please reach out and, if you need some help. And, as always, I, mentioned to, reach out to your friends also, make sure they're doing okay, just check in and everything. And also, I mean, keeping human connections is a good thing, especially when we live in a world where we're more connected than ever and probably also more distant than ever with a lot of people. So, make sure you're not just, focusing on your online friends. Make sure you check out the ones in real life too. And then of course, let's all, please practice kindness when you can. And, just whenever you can, I felt so bad when we were at the store today. There was a woman that had a walker that was one that had the wheels on it. And the way the parking lot is, it was sloped right where she put it. And she pushed her walker aside so she could get her groceries out of her car. And I saw it starting to roll.
Oh no.
So I ran over and grabbed it for her because it was far enough away that I'm like, if she needs this is a problem. Like, this is too far, so I ran over and grabbed it and, asked her if she needed any help putting her groceries in her car. And it was funny because I forget, you forget sometimes, especially as a guy, you don't think about how just randomly approaching women can be a terrifying experience for them, even if you're nice, cause she was kind of like, and then she saw I was pushing her walker toward her, and then she, that you could see the wall drop, she was immediately like, like I was probably about to get hit over the head with her handbag, but then, then she's like, oh, he's not stealing my walker, he's returning it. So, but it is funny. I run into that stuff from time to time, and then I kind of, when you take that step back from it, a little bit, you're like, oh yeah, your privilege blinds you sometimes to things, and I forget about that once in a while, even though I was doing something nice, and in the end it was going to work out, but it was still,
reminder.
Yeah, just kind of a funny scenario to me. But like I said, let's just try to practice kindness when we can.
Absolutely.
And register to vote.
Kindness usually doesn't cost us anything. A smile, a hello, I like that shirt. It doesn't cost us anything other than a couple seconds and maybe a few words. But you don't know the difference it makes on somebody else's life.
Right.
So, do your part, and I firmly believe that what you put out will come back to you in some way, shape, or form. So, I don't know if you believe that too. But
well, good.
I believe
hopefully
anyway.
Somebody will bring my walker to me when I need it.
Exactly. So with that, everybody, go out there and have the best week you possibly can. And don't forget, wiggle your toes.